Alright guys, so as you may have seen on Instagram or Facebook the other day, sometime last week, I don't know when I'm actually going to edit this video, but sometime recently before this video, I got myself a new welder. So basically the old faithful AC/DC TIG that I had, well I've had since I basically first started welding, which is probably close to 10 years ago now. It's slowly developed, or it's been slowly developing some weird issues while on AC. I haven't been able to get to the bottom of them. I've been trying lots of different things, but it basically got to the point where it was so unreliable. It was almost like the AC cycling wasn't working. It would get stuck on DC, or I don't know. I've been trying a lot of different things. It could be as simple as just a dirty pot. It could be something to do with the IGBT. I just don't have the time to dedicate to basically troubleshooting it. And then I also got thinking, you know what, I need my welder obviously. That's not doing the job anymore. So as you do, you get excited about buying something new. So I went on this search for a nice new machine. I had a budget to spend up to maybe $2 grand because you'd expect for a good quality AC/DC welder, you'd expect between $1,000 and $2,000, and then above that, obviously, they're just becoming out of my range anyway. This isn't my main job. I do a lot of fabrication, but this isn't my bread and butter. This isn't what I do all day, every day. So something that is good quality, but not outrageously expensive because I have a lot of other things to spend money on. So I had a few machines on my short list that I was considering and looking at, pros and cons and all the comparisons. So one was the Unimig Razor. They're a good machine. I know a couple of people with them. Good quality stuff, but my downside to that was they take a different style torch, and just basically all the connections on the machine are pretty much different to what I already have. So I've already got a lot of TIG gear, a few different torches, good quality torch gear. I run all the TIG Wear, PTFE cups and gas lenses, and basically I didn't want to have to redo my whole setup, so that kind of ruled that out, even though it is a good machine. The WIA, also a very good machine, but basically my core thing was I wanted something with a nice digital display, and the only machine that kind of stood out to me and was in that price range that I was looking at is the Magnum TIG Pro 200, and yeah, it looked really nice. So I've I bit the bullet and purchased it, and I've had a little bit of a play with it. Basically the afternoon I got it, I came down to the workshop and set it up, had a bit of a play, and it was super nice. I didn't have the pedal set up then, but using the TIG torch, I mean on DC the TIG torch amperage control's fine, but yeah, I must say I'm so far very impressed. So I guess I'll give you guys a rundown on the machine, what you get, my thoughts on everything, and then I suppose I'll kind of run you through the user interface on the machine, and I suppose we can do some practice welds. I mean the weld quality depends on the nut behind the machine, aka the user, but yeah, I mean, so far, it's looking really nice. So I'll bring the camera in and we'll run through basically what comes with it, and you know, just my thoughts on the initial kind of unboxing and reaction. Obviously it's already unboxed. Okay, so first up, you've obviously got the machine. Pretty lightweight, pretty compact. You've got the on-off switch and the gas inlet at the back. So it fits nicely into my welding cart. My other machine was a lot bigger and also a lot deeper. The kind of progression in technology for welders now is quite impressive. So you can fit a lot of bang for buck in a small packaging kind of constraint. So that's the machine itself. So it comes with a pretty good quality, thick gauge kind of power cord with a 15 amp plug on it. So the torch, it comes with a 26 torch with probably 5 or 6 meters of length, which is very good. Obviously I've got my nice TIG Wear back cap and kind of big stubby lens and all that stuff on it. It does come with a basic setup with a long cap and also a stubby back cap, a thoriated, looks like 1.6 mil tungsten, and also the gas lens and kind of collet body and all that stuff. So if you don't have all the gear and you are starting out, there is enough stuff to kind of get you going. But the torch itself is very nice. It's got the amperage control on the back of the torch and also the on-off button. I personally don't like to weld with this because I like to kind of hold the torch, you know, up nice and high. It is a flex head torch too, which is cool. So that's another bonus. So for those of you who kind of hold the torch like that, the amperage control would be quite handy. For me, I can't stand it, I don't have enough control. And yeah, the termination end into the machine is nice. So you've got your kind of gas port. So this is the quick connect one, which I like. And that goes into the side of the plug. And then you've also got your torch control, which is via a 5-pin. So that all connects in there like that. And then you can just plug your gas in like so. So then the ground clamp, pretty decent quality. My only downside would be it doesn't open as far as some of my other ones, but I mean, for most stuff it's pretty good. And it's made out of a nice quality kind of flex cable, so it feels nice and obviously it works fine. I personally run a longer one for most of my stuff normally because I've kind of got the welder up the front of the workshop and I might be kind of welding on a car or something that's kind of 4 or 5 meters away. So I normally run a longer earth clamp. But for the average person who's just welding at a bench, you know, majority of the time, it's plenty good. So then some other stuff that you get in the box, you get a decent bit, probably a couple of meters of some nice quality gas hose. Again, I've already got this set up, so I won't be using this. Obviously, the instruction manual. I've had a bit of a read through this online before I bought it. I figured most of it out just by playing around the machine, so we'll have a look at that shortly. Then also a nice quality arc welding electrode holder. So again, nice thick kind of cable, nice flex. Probably won't use this because I've normally got my small kind of sight welding machine when I do some arc welding kind of on site. So basically, if like me, I don't like using the torch, as I said. I normally like to use a pedal, especially when I'm doing aluminium. You've got so much more control because, as you probably know, you need to put a bit of heat into it to get the puddle started, then you need to taper that heat off as the kind of part comes up to temperature. So I've had to adapt my pedal to, so this is a 5-pin on the machine. My old machine was a 2-pin and a 3-pin. So basically the 2-pin was the on-off to initiate the arc, and the 3-pin were the 3 pins for the potentiometer or the kind of linear amperage control. So what I've done is I've just basically cut off the 2 plugs that came with it, and I've put a Deutsch connector on the end of it and then a corresponding Deutsch connector, and figured out the pin out for the machine, and then put obviously the corresponding 5-pin connector which will connect to that. So I guess while we're on the topic of pedals, if you are adapting your own pedal to this machine, I'll give you the pin out that I found for this machine. So basically number 1 and 2, so you can see on the end of the plug here, there's different numbers. So pins 1 and 2 are basically the on-off switch to initiate the arc. So you can have them in any polarity, it doesn't matter. It's literally just completing a circuit. So number 3 is the ground for the potentiometer, and then 4 and 5 are the potentiometer in and out. I can't remember which one's in and out, but you'll be able to figure it out pretty quick. If the polarity is inverted, obviously the pedal will go the opposite way. So that's easy enough to figure out. I've adapted that. And I've also figured out another weird issue I was having, where basically I would go from 0 to 200 in the first kind of quarter of the pedal. So it was very, you know, obviously that's the full range. And then from kind of there to there, I'd be at full amperage. So I figured out a cool little thing for that. I actually did another video on that, which you can probably find alongside this video. But basically I ended up putting another 10K potentiometer in line to fine tune the kind of sensitivity and the range of the pedal that works. So it was basically a case of holding the pedal on full and just kind of winding the pot until I just saw full amperage, and then that basically gave me range of the full pedal. And I've given it a quick test and it it's working perfectly. So if you are adapting another pedal from another machine, I don't know exactly what the setup is inside this machine for the pedal, but that's what I had to do to get this pedal working. I'm assuming that pretty much any 5-pin pedal will work. I can't confirm that, but I'm assuming. But I mean, if you are coming from another machine and adapting a pedal, or just a universal pedal that you found, it does work. You may just have to do the little trick that I did. But yeah, I suppose let's fire it up and go through the user interface. So you can see you've got a couple of seconds of boot screen, and then we're straight into it. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that screen okay. It's kind of hard to film screens with cameras, but I've kind of dropped the ISO down a bit, so hopefully you can see it. So yeah, this is basically the kind of main screen. Well, I guess this would be the main screen. So you've got the rotary dial, so you can obviously go auto. I'm guessing that just automatically detects what you're doing. High frequency TIG, which is the most ideal and the most common. Or there is lift TIG if you wanted to use lift. I don't know why you would, but there is that option. And then also MMA, which is not mixed martial arts, it's actually arc welding. So basically everyone is going to be on HF TIG. So then you come into this screen. So the thing that I really like about this is it's got a really nice kind of visual graph of everything that happens. So I mean, currently we're in DC mode. So if you click function, it basically just steps you through everything. So the first kind of push of the right hand function button, you get to whether you want to choose DC or AC. So you can just twist the rotary dial here. We'll start off with DC for now. So the next up, 2T or 4T. So 2T is obviously just pedal on, pedal off. That's it. Whereas 4T is basically you push the pedal and you've got your kind of ramp up, and then it hits kind of max current, and then when you let the pedal off it has a ramp down period and then hits you kind of minimum current. So that's good for kind of automatic heating and also cooling of the puddle. I personally don't use it that much, but I'm sure a lot of you guys probably do. So yeah, after 2T or 4T, we go into whether we want to go kind of regular or we can go to pulse. So the pulse on this is very good. We'll have a run through that. Next up, you choose whether you're using the panel for your amperage or the remote. So nice and simple. So obviously if you don't want to use the rotary dial on the torch or your pedal, you set it to panel, and then you can just kind of dial up the amperage as you can see here on the machine. Or if you want to use your rotary dial on the torch or also your pedal, you click on remote here. So then the next thing is the gas pre-flow. So I normally have this kind of half a second. And then peak current. So if you have it set to the panel amperage control, or if you have your pedal or torch unplugged, you can obviously set this, but at the moment it's just whatever the torch or the pedal input says. And then we got your gas post flow. I normally do like 3, depending on what kind of amperage I'm welding at and what kind of tungsten stick out I've got. I'm normally anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds. And then basically, yeah, you can see everything kind of graphed out on the screen. So while we're on DC, we'll go back in and we'll look at the pulse settings. So when we go to pulse mode, so here we go. We've got the first up, we've got the pulse duty cycle. So that's kind of the length of the max current. And then the pulse frequency. So this is how fast it pulses. I've found about 2 hertz. 2 to 3 hertz is a nice kind of speed for this. But yeah, you can basically go all the way up to, where are we? My God, this is super fast. 200 hertz for the pulse frequency, which is crazy fast. You probably wouldn't even see that. All the way down to 1 hertz. So I think I found 2 was a nice comfortable speed for what I was doing. So then you've got your base current. So that's basically the minimum current that the pulse will go to. So you'll go obviously peak and then down to your base. Yeah, so with the base current, it kind of automatically does the delta for what your max current is. So I've got the torch hooked up now. So you can see as I'm kind of winding up the peak current on the torch, you can see it's automatically changing the base current. And you can also then fine tune that on the machine as well. But as you can see, it automatically kind of does it and keeps it all in the same ratio, which is cool. And then the other cool thing as well that you can probably see on the screen here, for those of you who are probably new to TIG and may not know the ultimate kind of settings, it gives you a kind of guide here for thickness of materials. So as a kind of quick reference, if you know you've got something that's 1.8 mil thick, you should be around the kind of 50 to 60 amp mark. You know, I don't know how accurate that is, but I mean, it's a good kind of ballpark for getting started, I suppose. So that's a cool little function as well. So yeah, and then obviously post flow, we've seen all that. So let's go back to, we'll go do some AC settings now. So like that. So we've got the 2T, 4T, obviously, pulse or straight. We'll go back to kind of straight current. So the cool thing is you can select all your different AC waves. I'm yet to test all these out. You know, if you're getting into some pretty thin stuff, it's cool that you've got the different options for all these different waves. So yeah, that's another cool setting, and the fact that you can just visually look at it is really cool. So we'll keep going from that. So there's AC auto and also AC manual. So I always keep this off just because I like to set my settings up as is. But with the auto, it will basically auto learn and calibrate, I'm pretty sure, which is kind of cool. And then again, just your panel or remote. So we've got it set up for remote. Pre-flow, peak current, so you can change that with the torch or the pedal. Post flow, and then you got your AC frequency, so you can go all the way from 40 Hertz all the way up to 200, which is good. My old machine only used to go up to 80, so now that I can go up to 200, that's really good. So for those of you who don't know, the AC frequency is basically how fast it's switching from AC to DC. So basically, long story short, the way that you weld aluminium to punch through the kind of oxide layer is you need to flick back between AC and DC to get penetration and then to also clean. So yeah, I'm going to keep that up at 200 where I had it. And then you've got AC balance. So this is the amount of basically electrode negative to electrode positive. So I've found for most clean stuff around 30 to 35% is pretty good. I'm guessing this is probably what a lot of the automatic mode takes care of, is all these balance settings and stuff. I mean, you can't go too wrong, but you know, the simplicity is you can literally see everything on the screen, which I really like. You know, for me especially, it's a nice kind of upgrade from the older machines that have just got the rotary dials. But so yeah, after the balance, that's basically all the settings. So you can see we've got the 0.5 pre-flow time, then we come up to peak current, whatever we set that to. And obviously if it's on pulse, it will show you kind of what your pulse base is down there. And then you've got your down slope. And obviously this will have different numbers if you're running 4T, for example. And then you've got your kind of post-flow gas time as well. So I mean, it's super simple. It's big buttons. I mean, looks like there's a nice coating over the screen, which is good. Yeah, so it works well. I've tried this with gloves on, it works really well. You've just got one kind of simple dial when you're in the setting mode. So yeah, I mean, it's a super simple and very functional machine. So I suppose let's fire it up and do some testing. All right, so I guess first up, I've just got a off-cutter stainless in here. So we'll set this up. We'll go back to DC. We'll go 2T, we'll just go kind of bare basics. And let's just stack some dimes on here and see how she's looking. So I've just got my pedal hooked up, and let's just have a geezer. Yeah, so I mean it welds nice. Most machines these days are very good on DC. as I said, a lot of it comes down to the nut behind the machine. So, yeah, that's basically simple. I suppose anyone can kind of run some beads. Let's have a bit of a play around with the pulse, I reckon. And another really cool thing as well, you can probably hear the fan on this thing is an absolute ball terror. And the good thing is it only comes on when it needs to. So when the machine's been kind of sitting idle, it'll kind of just turn off, and then once you start welding again, it will kick on when it needs to. All right, so let's have a look at some pulse. So let's go to say 60% duty cycle. We'll go 2 Hertz frequency. So hopefully you can kind of see the speed there for 2 Hertz. I might even just slow it back down a little bit more. Let's go to 1 Hertz, see what that looks like. Even just at 1 Hertz there, that's really nice. I could never get that slow with my old machine, so I'll definitely be using pulse a lot more now that I've got a machine that you can actually set that up nicely with. I suppose let's go the other way now. We'll go up to, I don't know, go 30 Hertz. That's so trippy. So the fact that's only 30, we can go all the way up to 200. Personally, I think most people would probably only be using between, say, 1 and 5, maybe, depending how fast you're going. I find the pulse really helps to kind of get in the rhythm of kind of dabbing, but obviously the main thing is your heat input. So, I mean, you've got plenty of adjustability. That's the really cool thing. All right, so that's enough of DC. Let's go over to AC and have a look how this performs. I'll just kind of start off on the most basic. So we'll just go the regular kind of square wave. And I'll start at 200 AC frequency and we'll go about 35 balance. So it's just a bit of aluminium here. I've just given it a wire brush so it's relatively clean. Super smooth. It's so nice having that extra frequency. For a comparison, let's have a look at, let's set the frequency down to like, say 80, which is the max that my old welder used to be. You'll hear an audible change in the torch. So yeah, I mean, even at that, it welds nicely. Yeah, so you've got basically a good range of adjustment all the way from 40. Well, let's go down to 40, let's see what that's like. So you can definitely notice kind of the higher the frequency, the more focused the arc. At 40 Hertz, it wants to do a really fat kind of bead, whereas at 200, you can lay a nice kind of thin bead. I mean, you can do, it all comes down to the welder. You can do a lot of stuff with different settings, but yeah, I mean, that's working really nice. And yeah, I mean, the balance is looking pretty good. There's just a little bit of, little kind of ringer cleaning action, so I think I'm pretty bang on there with 35%. Let's go have a look at pulse mode. Again, I'm still on square wave, 60% duty cycle, 1 Hertz frequency. Let's have a look how this goes. I actually haven't welded AC with pulse, so this will be interesting. Yeah, I mean, it works beautifully. A little bit dirty on the start, but I'm sure that's to do with some settings. And yeah, you can see obviously the more, you probably can't see on the screen, but the more kind of stuff that you have on, so obviously in AC mode and we're using pulse, there's a lot more, basically everything that you've set is on this main screen, which is really cool. There we go, the fan's turned off. So I'm gonna go and try triangle wave and let's see if I can notice any kind of difference. All the settings are the same. I might just turn pulse off. Wow, I actually did notice a difference on that. You could it's definitely not as much kind of heat, which is what you want, but you've still got the good control, and actually, I think I got a nicer kind of flow with the triangle wave there, so there you go. Let's try something else. Let's go to like the semi kind of sine and square wave, which is the bottom one. I don't know what the technical name is, but that's how I'm going to describe it. Yeah, you can see there's definitely a lot less kind of clean area width on that. Kind of similar to the triangle wave, probably a little bit less if you can kind of go by the comparison of the two of them. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely notice the difference in the different waves. I mean, an experienced welder will be able to weld with basically any of these wave shapes. The traditional square wave or even sine wave, yeah, you can do a lot with. But I mean, I suppose this would really come to its own when you're doing some super thin, fine work. You can really kind of refine that arc concentration and just kind of make things a bit easier. So, I mean, just to have all these options, it's going to cover me for, you know, plenty of time into the future. So yeah, I mean, this machine, I'm thoroughly impressed. The thing that I really like is they're a Melbourne-based company. They were great to deal with. I spoke to them a couple of times before buying this, and they were very helpful and very, very nice to deal with. So it's got a 5-year warranty as well, which is also awesome. I think that's pretty much the most warranty out of all the machines that are out there. And yeah, basically a machine that's got this full digital display on it. At first I was kind of iffy whether I would like it, because I do like the older style machines, like my old one that's down on the floor there. But now that I've got it and used it, I absolutely love it, because it's just got everything there. You just push these buttons and you can change through everything. And yeah, to be honest, I am completely stoked. And kind of price point, it is brilliant bang for buck. I think at the time of this is about $1,700. All right, so in a nutshell, I would probably rate this 9 out of 10. The only thing that's stopping me from giving it a 10 is that it doesn't come with a foot pedal, but that is just me. A lot of you guys out there probably don't use a foot pedal, especially if you're only doing kind of DC stuff. But for me, a lot of alloy, and I just like the control of the foot pedal. That would be my only thing. Obviously, I've already got the foot pedal, I've adapted it, it works well. But if you are buying this as a starter, it just means that you're gonna have to go and find a pedal that works. I don't know whether they might be working on having a pedal to couple with this, but to be honest, I mean, I can't fault it. Yeah, I mean, the welder, it speaks for itself. The only limitation is obviously the person who's using it. So the welder itself is more than capable for basically anything. So hopefully you guys found this review helpful. I mean, I couldn't find much stuff online for these welders. Obviously I've got a decent enough knowledge about welders, so kind of from reading everything and reading the instructions and everything, I kind of made a informed decision that this was the welder that I wanted to go with, and I'm very glad that I did. As you've seen, it's got a great kind of user interface. It's super user friendly and it performs as well as basically any welder that I've ever used, if not better. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do some more fabrication stuff, so I'm going to try to do that. I'm keen to use this welder a lot more and kind of get a lot of stuff done, especially on the car that's over there behind me. So yeah, thank you.